Hello, everyone, and welcome back to Super Mario Bros. Wonder. It's Daisy's turn, and everyone's excited about that.
Hey, best
Next
character.
level games. Daisy, you
that
don't
was more
need to
Toad.
shout.
That was more Toad than Daisy.
No, she sounds like that in the Strikers games.
No, she does not.
She kind of does.
I know what audio clips you're
Lewis,
referencing, and she
Lewis,
does not.
Can you please put in the audio clip of Daisy shouting "Next level games"?
And I'm telling
prove
you,
this
it's
asshole
not,
wrong.
It's like it's shrilly, sure, but it's not Toad shrilly.
Listen.
Okay, let's see. Daisy,
You listen.
Next level games. Oh, this comes up on the YouTube search right away. Okay.
Yeah, because it's for Mario Strikers on GameCube, and maybe the Wii version. I didn't play that one as much. Every character has a chance of saying the title thing. So sometimes real Wario goes Nintendo,
Ow.
and then
Okay. All right, you're both right. It doesn't sound like Toad, but it sounds. My ears hurt.
It sounds full of energy and confidence.
It
And
sounded.
I will not. I will not hear this Daisy slander because you project your loser vibes to a
you see,
Red Bunch's character.
I don't think it's bad, but like I wasn't expecting it to be so loud. So
okay,
I
listen,
don't
the
think a lot
Daisy
of people
simping
were,
can
though.
happen off camera, John.
No, absolutely not. We're recording now.
the thing is, I actually like the voice clips that I just listened to because, like, I could project an entire personality. I'm an amateur writer, so I do this like habitually. I could project an entire personality off of those voice clips alone, and write a version of Daisy that people would probably kind of like. Although maybe a better writer than me should take the ideas that I come up with and make them better.
Dude, the
Less
Mario
cocaine next time.
Mario Strikers in particular just has so much personality with the Mario characters. Like, it's my favorite representation of Peach because because Peach is fairly bland in a lot of the Mario games, and like I'd say it took them at least 10 years to do anything interesting with her. Like, when did Paper Mario come out? 2000 or 2001?
2000?
2000 for Paper Mario 1.
Yeah, that's like the first game where I felt like she had any kind of like edge to the personality, even a little bit.
I would say I'd start with Mario RPG first.
I'll believe you. I mean, that was 98, right? That's
96.
Still 96. That's still 10 years.
Yeah, the point stands. A long time.
Yeah. But like in the Strikers games, like she still has the same kind of like haughtiness, like, oh, I'm so great. But it's also like, instead of just being like prim and proper, there's kind of like a, oh, look at me, you're beneath me because I'm the princess and I'm so special.
She's getting into the energy of the competition, in other words.
Pompous Peach.
In the newest Mario Strikers, the one on Switch, when she's the captain and the enemy scores a goal on her, she'll do a thing where she's starting to get mad, and then she'll be like, I'm okay, it's fine, nothing's wrong, it's okay, we're gonna be good. And it's like,
I'm a good princess, and you're a little whore!
Yeah, whereas Daisy is just completely unhinged and does not give a flying fuck at all. Anyway, I really hope...
Is she the kind of Daisy who would burst into your office at the end of the movie and promise a sequel that never comes?
Probably, yeah.
Damn, that's fucked up.
Yeah. So anyway, point stands. Let Next Level Games continue to make Mario Sports titles. I know
the Switch Strikers game was years after the Wii game, right?
Yes, it was. The Wii game came out like 2008 or 9. Strikers came out like 2021.
How are the new Strikers games? Because like I've heard great things about the original, but
so
I hear the new one on Switch isn't very good.
So the gameplay is still... So the thing about all of the games, the Wii one is the best about this element of it. All three games have fantastic gameplay and, like, not a ton of content. So there's not a lot of variety. Like, the Mario Baseball game on GameCube and Wii have a fairly extensive story mode. And there's, like, a lot of replay value to the golf and the tennis games. And in the Strikers games, there's just kind of like soccer and that's it. There's not like a tournament mode you can keep replaying, or story mode, or anything like that. It's just the bare basics soccer. So, and don't get me wrong, the mechanics are fantastic. Like, it is so much fun to play the Mario Strikers games, but there's just not, unless if you're really, really into that gameplay, there's not a lot to keep you coming back, is the thing. And that's the problem, with them.
Fair enough.
At its core. Like the Mario Tennis Aces, for example, had that long story mode and kept on getting, and, has a bunch of different courses. Well, eventually it did, because it got updated. It was pretty bare bones to start. Mario Strikers never really got those same kind of updates. They added a few extra characters, but there wasn't like the same sort of variety that they added later on for the other Mario sports games. Anyway, I just want Mario Superstar Baseball 3, please and thank you, because the Wii game sucks. I won't hear any discussion that people think the Wii game is good. No, Wii Mario Baseball sucks. GameCube Mario Baseball is the best sports game they've ever done.
What was wrong with the Wii baseball game?
Well, for one, the story mode is way more repetitive, and not nearly as good. Well, okay, repetitive isn't the right word, because honestly, the GameCube story mode is very repetitive, especially if you want to get star things for everybody. It's just worse, and more boring. Also, the motion controls just don't work the way that they should. I'm not and again, I'm probably like the most pro motion control person on this commentary channel. If I had to guess. The problem with them is that it's not like Wii Sports Baseball, where the swing is like mimicked all the way through as you're swinging the bat. It's a waggle. The game senses that you move the controller and then treats it like a button input, effectively.
It's Mario Galaxy in a way,
Yeah.
or a lot of other motion games.
The problem is when you think you're supposed to be playing baseball, that fucks up with your sense of timing, because if you're playing a game that you think is supposed to be baseball, you swing your arm as you think that the middle of your swing would impact the ball, versus when it's treated like a waggle, you have to swing early, because the game will only sense that you've swung after your swing's basically done. So you have to effectively swing early for every swing that you do.
And even then, it's not even we're not talking like a Wii Motion Sensor Plus thing where
no, it's like
you're doing a fully
Wii
articulate baseball swing. It's just a waggle.
Yeah, it's just a waggle.
Because it's a button press.
Yeah.
Now, you see, I think I'd personally be able to adapt to that pretty easily, because, Twilight Princess on the Wii mapped sword swinging to waggling. And despite wanting to think that what direction you swing the Wiimote would influence the direction of the sword swing, it didn't work that way. Not until Skyward Sword, anyway.
There's also... The game just has a lot more needless stuff that doesn't necessarily make the game fun. Like when you're in the outfield trying to catch the ball, the runner can throw Mario Kart items at you. And it's like batting is already way more really easy to do in these games compared to fielding, just due to the nature of they want you to hit so wacky things can happen, and they don't want it to be a pitcher's duel for the entire time, which is fair. But it's like, okay, it's not very fun when if any hit gets to the outfield, the runner can then just make it impossible for you to get the guy out, and then the score's 13-0. It's just, I don't find it particularly fun. I'm a little fuzzy on the details, considering that it's been over 10 years since I played it, so...
See, I can sort of imagine the difficulty there, because baseball strikes me as one of those sports that's difficult to get right in a casual gaming context. Because
especially considering that baseball in general has been diving deep off in popularity over the past couple decades too.
It's gotten a little bit more popular lately, but
I think I would say that vastly depends on where you grew up.
Well, I mean, there is that element, but I mean more in a gameplay balance sort of way, because there are two fundamentally different ways to do a sports game, right? You can do a casual fun sports game in which the minutia of the game of the sport you are adapting are boiled down to their basic elements, so that you can do something fun and easy to pick up, like Hot Shots Golf or Mario Tennis.
You have your NFL 2Ks or you have your NFL Blitz. Essentially, to use football as an example, you can either go sports simulator or arcade.
Yes, that is essentially what I'm saying. Yeah. So like,
I get what you mean, because baseball is like inherently a very crunchy, like numbersy insider. Like that's why insider baseball is a term. You know, like.
Well, I mean, when you consider the basic parts and pieces of a baseball game, you start to realize that the actual things that you're doing in the game are themselves very simplistic. So when you boil it down to an arcade style game, it's actually one of the like simplest sports video games you can design. And it's hard to make both sides of that equally engaging while the gameplay is so simple.
Honestly, if you were making a like extreme, and you know this, I'm not sure if they even make yearly baseball games anymore. They might. They probably do, honestly. But like, I have a feeling that like the most hardcore baseball game you could make would effectively be like 60% Excel spreadsheets.
Yeah,
because that's a lot of what baseball is. You know, baseball people love stats.
Yeah, and that's the other side of designing a sports game, is the simulation element. The really in-depth sports games, the in-depth football, the in-depth golf, they're basically simulation games of the sport, rather than, you know, arcadey video games.
Yeah. It's actually part of why Mario Superstar Baseball on GameCube I like it so much, is that there's some element to that, but it's made very approachable. There's a chemistry element to the game where if you have, let's say, Mario and Luigi on first base and second base, or first base and shortstop, I don't remember which one's which. If you have them close to each other, because they're brothers and they like each other, they will throw the ball faster. Or if you have Mario on base and Luigi's up at bat, Luigi will hit the ball harder. Versus if Mario tries to throw to Wario, they hate each other, so the ball will go slower. And there's this extremely interconnected web of chemistry that goes throughout the whole game, and you can see charts of it, and it's actually wild to see. But it makes sense, and it allows you to like think about picking your team in a way that's not just
personality-based tier list.
Yeah, well, no, it's true. Like, part of the reason that like I really like playing as Peach in Mario Superstar Baseball. And so even though a character like Toadsworth is fairly underwhelming stats-wise, he gets along well and has good chemistry with Peach, Daisy, Toadette, and the other Toads, who all have good chemistry with each other. So, like, he'd normally be like a mediocre player, but he becomes like a really solid pick when you consider him in that context. And it adds a lot of depth to the game that you would think doesn't have it.
So take this with a grain of salt, because it's I just pulled it from Wikipedia, and I don't know if the data is completely accurate. But baseball video games specifically were kind of a dime a dozen in the 80s, 90s, and up until the early aughts. But starting with like the the early 2010s and up until now, the only real baseball game that's still yearly, for lack of a better word, is MLB The Show.
That sounds about right.
And that's a PlayStation Studios game that actually appears on other consoles.
Yeah.
You see, and that tracks with like the way that baseball, because like I'm from Boston, and Boston's a huge baseball town, and like even now you don't really hear a lot about the Sox ever, and it's just because after people stopped taking steroids, people stopped caring about baseball, which is sad, but just kind of how it ended up being.
That is one of the most indicative statements I've ever heard about the human race in my life.
I think the last time I genuinely gave a shit about baseball in any sense of the word is when my brother and I were watching the Cubs win the World Series, actually a couple years ago.
Yeah, and that's more just because like,
holy shit, they're actually gonna do it.
Yeah,
like, and like you're rooting for them.
It went to Game 7, but we did it. Yeah.
Like and that put like it's the notoriety, and it's like you feel like you're witnessing a once in a lifetime thing.
Because it was.
I don't know what like the thing about that is for like soccer or international football, but if that happened, I'm sure it would have the same like holy shit factor.
It would for soccer, it'd probably be the U.S. men's team actually winning a World Cup.
No, the U.S. doesn't count because we got to be good at everything. Soccer can continue to be the one thing that we're bad at. All right, the rest of the world gets that.
And honestly, I think because we don't get that, what else we achieve in any other sport is irrelevant because soccer is just that fucking huge outside of the United States.
It's just very funny to me because the U.S. has such an underdog identity baked into its like national mythology with we beat the big bad Britain, and like established this thing, and it was like it's like, okay, that's our backstory, whatnot, is being plucky underdog shonen hero nation, and then in reality 150 years later we are the bad guy. It's just like, you become what you once hated.
That's
to the point where we can't like any sort of competition unless we are the best at it, which is why we don't care about soccer.
I think for me specifically, my animosity, not even animosity, that's too strong of a word. I just have no interest in soccer because it just isn't that visually engaging for me.
And nothing happens for most of the game. It's just a bunch of guys running around.
I will argue. So here's my problem with.
Now all the Europeans are going to yell at how uncultured Americans are.
We are, though,
right.
to be fair.
I think the word you're looking for is apathy or antipathy.
Indifferent.
Well, indifference is like if you want to go for the easy synonym.
Oh, shut up. Okay, listen, we all can't be amateur RP form writers like you, okay? I'm going to stick with the easy words. Anyway.
I'm sending John an SAT vocab.
It's like, don't. I'll flunk it.
You just barely missed the 10 coin.
But the soccer has the same problem with me as I do with hockey, where I cannot watch either on broadcast television. I cannot. I have to be physically there at a game to get something out of it.
You see, hockey for me has the opposite problem, where hockey moves too fast and the puck is so small.
Yes.
I can't follow what's going on.
I
can follow what's going on in soccer.
That was like a selling point for like NHL on Fox for like the longest time. I think it started in like the mid to late 90s, where they would emphasize the puck with like a red trail line because people couldn't see that shit.
It's probably more visible now, considering we have 15K ultra resolution bullshit cameras, so you probably can see the puck a little bit easier, but
nowadays,
sports.
like I'm just like just cap off the sports tangent. The only
sports.
I only really, as a Philly-born kid, like to me, like over here, it's football and it's baseball. Maybe basketball if the Sixers are on a good streak. But that kind of goes into my point. I'm only really paying attention to sports when we're in postseason. Because I can't keep up with every fucking game every fucking week. Your Phillies are in first place, so they're making the playoffs. See, so. I don't follow sports to that much. I didn't even know that until you said that. So it's kind of like, if they're postseason, if they're in the playoffs, if they manage to get to the World Series or the Super Bowl or the finals, then I'll watch and I'll root for my home team because I like seeing other people happy. But don't ask me to actually follow the fucking games or who's my favorite player because I don't care.
I don't think many people actually do follow all of the games. I think they just read the summaries in the sports column.
I know. At the very least, again, sports culture is really different everywhere you go. But here in Boston, definitely a lot of people will watch every Patriots game or most. You don't see a lot of people watching every baseball game because they have one every other day and they're 3 hours long. But there are a lot of people who will watch every basketball game, every football game, every hockey game, at least here in Boston.
From my history of growing up in Philly, you are more likely to run into folks who watch everything football related with the Eagles than they would the Phillies until they're in postseason, because it just means that much to them. And again, I'm not judging. It's just that I don't particularly find it interesting.
Well, I mean, following your one specific team is one thing, but
Yeah.
following the entire sport is another.
Oh, that's cracked. I don't like. Life's too short. Like, get a hobby. You could.
Well, that is the hobby.
Yeah, I guess so. Like, you're right, but it's. I don't know, man. Like, I would like to be involved in shit that's more personal and not just like watch somebody else do something. Thank you for watching BrainScratch Commentaries,
the video game commentary channel.